Good evening, Astroth, and welcome back to episode 176 of the World of Goldcraft. I'm your host, well, not as usual lately, but I am back, the Lazy Goldmaker of thelazygoldmaker.com. I haven't recorded an episode in quite a while. An unfortunate combination of getting sick, going on vacation, getting sick, going on vacation. So that's life. This is still a part-time thing. So that's what I've been doing since May, which was when the last episode released. Now, today we're going to talk about the Dragonflight Alpha, because I got Alpha access 2 days ago, so I've started looking at stuff. So that's going to be exciting. Now, before that, if you're interested in supporting the show to get early access to all of my written and YouTube guides, then head on over to patreon.com/thelazygoldmaker. That way you'll get to see everything I post 1 week before everyone else. All right. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about profession specializations in Dragonflight Alpha. Obviously not the nitty-gritty details for multiple different reasons in terms of optimizing a specific tree or a specific profession. That's pointless. Why? The alpha is in a really early state. There's still a lot of stuff missing, so I can't even fully test the specific professions currently. I don't know what the optimal approach is going to be. Item levels aren't finalized. There's tons of stuff that's just not finished. But I'm going to focus on the general design approach that Blizzard has taken and my thoughts on that. That's going to be the thing that we focus on. Now, the first thing to note is that specialization point or knowledge is limited, obviously, by the rate you earn them. But not the total you can get. Like, eventually you can get everything. But the question is, how fast can you actually get them? This is going to be pretty similar to how artifact weapons worked in Legion, and rather than a talent tree. So it's going to be something where you eventually get everything. So the prioritization is what you get early, not what you get eventually, because eventually you get it all. But this also means that your early choices will be very impactful for what you can do early on. And with the general trend that I've noted that, well, a very large portion of the gold that you can make crafting endgame gear, you know when that's going to happen? It's going to happen in the first patch, or the beginning of the patch in particular, and then the beginning of the next patch. So what does all this mean? Well, it means that making the right choice early on with your first knowledge, making the best choices, is going to have a tremendous impact on your ability to make gold and your ability to make powerful items. And as we've seen in the past, there's often a surprisingly large difference in price between best in slot and not quite best in slot, even if the relative performance gain isn't that big. For instance, back in Castle Nathria and the beginning of Shadowlands, while a rank 4 legendary was a lot more expensive than a rank 3. And the difference in performance, not that much, 10 item levels. That's the same difference as what we will have from a quality 1 item in Shadowlands or in Dragonflight currently to a quality 5. There's 2 item levels per quality in the alpha currently, which means that a quality 5 is about 10 item levels more than a quality 1. And rank 4 legendaries were selling for 2 to 3 times as much as the rank 3 one. So that means quality 5 items, they might be selling for a lot more than quality 2 or 3. Maybe not a lot more than 4. That'll be interesting to see. And obviously we don't know exactly how hard it's going to be to be able to craft rank or level 4 or quality 4 and quality 5, and particularly once you add the specific reagents. The value of 1 slot isn't that big, but obviously if you min-max every slot by 10 item levels, then that's going to be a huge difference, so that's why people do it. It would not be surprising to see the absolute top quality gear sell for a significant portion more. Obviously, you'll have to sell those with crafting orders, so the buyers will set the price in some respects, but obviously it will not be everyone that can craft the highest level gear. It will be a small group of crafters early on. That's definitely how it seems plays on alpha right now. Now, the actual talent trees, or knowledge trees, or whatever we're going to call them, most of them are split up into trees targeting different types of items. So for inscription, you have intermediate materials, you have a tree for Darkmoon decks, and you have one dedicated to gear. They can craft weapons, some staves, stuff like that, offhand, and optional reagents with the missives. Blacksmithing has weapons, armor, intermediate materials, and other stuff like the stones and optional reagents, and then a generic one that just boosts blacksmithing in total. And obviously what has mattered early on in every expansion is being the first to market with very powerful items. And this is going to be the same in Dragonflight. Being the first to market in powerful items is going to be the name of the game, and your ability to be first to market is going to be limited by your profession knowledge, which is going to be the most important thing. And that also means that any specialization related to intermediate goods, that's not going to be a focus early on, unless you do multiple blacksmiths and you have the time to do that. That's really it. Because the intermediate material is going to be fine. You can make some gold with that, but the real profit, the real big sales, is usually in power increasing items. I think it's going to be a lot more profitable to be a weaponsmith than someone who makes the alloys. In the actual trees, you pump points into the nodes, and then they'll gradually give you a passive benefit for each point, and then give you an extra benefit at certain breakpoints per 5 points. This also unlocks further sub-specializations that give you more benefit. It unlocks new optional reagents that you get to use and recipes, or it adds new recipes and other aspects. So yeah, my thoughts right now is that the most profitable thing you can do if you want to make a lot of gold with Dragonflight launch is to rush the ability to craft quality 5 for the highest value items or the most useful gear pieces, which is going to be weapons, might be some of the armors that have very strong extra effects, might be Darkmoon deck boxes, might be trinkets, might be something else. If you are the first one on your realm who can consistently craft quality 5 weapons, for instance, well, you can monopolize the crafting orders. You'll just tell be barking in trade chat, I can craft quality 5 weapon orders. Contact me if you need them. And then you tell them exactly what they need to put in, so they put in the right materials, and then you tell them how much they need to put the price at, and tell them to send it to you. And pretty much you can pick the price because no one else can do it yet. Yeah. Quality 5 weapons, trinkets, potentially high stat value armor, obvious choices that are potentially going to be really good. But all of this is very subject to the final tuning and whether or not we see more unique effect items or not. Early on, I think it means that you should only really add points to nodes that increase crafting skill for high value items, or unlock new stuff to make those items more powerful through optional reagents. Resourcefulness, which is the stat that reduces your crafting cost, reduces your materials used on average. I don't think that's going to be useful early on. I think crafting skill is going to trump that very significantly. But there is, of course, the question of having multiple alts, which we'll cover. Profit margins are usually extremely high early on in expansions, which means that having a 10% cost advantage isn't going to matter much when items are selling for 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 times material cost, or even more. Then being 10% cheaper just doesn't matter compared to being in a market where you can have incredible profit margins because it's not a competitive market yet. So yeah, I'm also very uncertain. I need to test this on alpha with someone, but the crafting orders don't seem to work yet. I tried to craft my own orders and it didn't really work. How will resourcefulness work with crafting orders? Are you going to get materials back? What if someone else puts up all of their materials and you craft it for them with resourcefulness? Will you get some of the materials back? Will they get them back? I don't know. Now, long term, obviously, resourcefulness is going to matter. And there's also the potential to have crafting alts to source. Like you have an extra blacksmith that just is there to craft your alloys, and he has resourcefulness stacked out of the gels and multi-craft to get just as many resources as possible. Obviously, also, if you're doing stuff like alchemy, potions, files, then resourcefulness is going to be really, really important because it's going to be incredibly competitive with the combined auction house. Now, overall, the system looks good, but I think that the economic potential of the different specializations is going to be extremely different. If you pick the wrong one to max out early on, your profit potential. If you care about gold making, it's just going to be hampered completely. It's also very possible that it's optimal to have a bunch of crafters for each profession, but I'm not sure how much time you're going to spend doing the stuff you need to do to max out profession knowledge. That's the big question here. Having multiple crafters is obviously going to be really strong, particularly if they're on multiple accounts, so you can save time or do stuff on them. You'll just be crafting materials on one, and then you go do the daily on the other, and then you swap. And that's obviously no real way to fix that or alleviate that. The main limiting factor to how many alts it's optimal to have is going to be how much time it takes to max out a knowledge point. If you get all your knowledge from a weekly quest and that takes an hour, then suddenly it's feasible for very hardcore gold makers to have a very large number of alts. They can have 10, 20 alts and get through that in a week. If it's 20 minutes a day, then suddenly it's a lot harder. So we'll have to see. There's also an inscription item that does increase your profession knowledge. It requires the BOP material Artisan's Metal, but I expect people will be paying incredible amounts of gold for that item early on. Particularly if it doesn't have a cooldown. I can't craft it on alpha yet because one of the materials isn't available on the profession vendors. But that one is going to be, well, might allow you to power level through everything and actually get everything on a single character if you spend a lot of gold. But we'll have to see. It's still way too early. So that's what I think. I think you should focus on the high quality items. And it's going to be interesting. Now, definitely with all of these specializations and the fact that if you want to craft quality 5 for any given armor piece or weapon, you probably have to invest like all of your points into crafting that specific slot or that specific weapon type, like swords. It's going to mean that there's going to be a lot of gold to be made here because every market is going to be a lot less competitive than it was in Dragonflight. Because even with the ability of people to go hardcore and be in multiple markets, every single legendary crafter in the game right now, everyone who's doing all 4 legendaries, they're going to be able to, the first week or two, they're going to be in one item for their profession. Like every blacksmith legendary, they're not going to be on all 8 armor slots. They're now going to be on like 1 armor slot or 1 weapon slot that they can cover. 1 weapon type can they cover week 1 with a high enough quality, and then maybe they don't even have any other recipes because they haven't invested in those nodes yet. So yeah, it's gonna be, I think this might be one of the most profitable expansions ever if this goes live, because there's so much good stuff from crafting and they're driving down competition significantly. Obviously crafting orders might just drive down prices because the buyers set the price. But if there's only 10 people on the realm who can craft them, then maybe they don't do public orders. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Either way, honestly, this is going to be a huge shakeup for the game. The entire profession system in Dragonflight just changes everything. And I love that because I love figuring out new stuff. So I'm super excited for this. I'll let you know when I see more stuff. I'll be playing the alpha and at least looking at professions primarily. That's really the only thing I'm interested in doing on the alpha, and be giving feedback to Blizzard. If anyone who listens to this is in the alpha, make sure you give feedback on professions as well. This is a marquee feature of this expansion, so if you don't give feedback, then it's not going to get good. They need to iterate. So that's it. Thanks for listening. See you on the next episode.